Whenever we talk about artificial intelligence, the conversation always seems to swing between two extremes, right? It's either this incredible new dawn for humanity, or it's the beginning of the end. And that tension, well, it gets really critical when AI collides with democracy.
So that brings us to the big question we're tackling today. Is AI a weapon that could destabilize our most fundamental institutions? Or could it be the very tool we need to repair them? We're going to look at the evidence for both sides, and I think you'll see the reality is way more paradoxical than you might expect. Let's start with the scary stuff, the threat.
First up, the digital threat. And this one hits at the most immediate fear. The idea that AI could completely shatter our shared sense of reality, making it impossible to agree on even the most basic facts.
At the very heart of this threat is a concept called the liar's dividend. Law professors Bobby Chesney and Danielle Citron came up with the term, and the idea is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Basically, in a world where everyone knows that video and audio can be faked, a liar gets a huge advantage. They can take real evidence of them doing something wrong and just say, nope, that's a deepfake. And just like that, a seed of doubt is planted.
And look, this isn't some sci-fi future problem. It is happening right now. The mere possibility that something could be an AI fake is enough for people to just dismiss real, genuine images as fake. It's almost not about the technology itself anymore. It's about the erosion of trust that it leaves behind.
But the threat goes even deeper than just fake videos. We've got to look at what's fueling these AI models in the first place, and that's data. A good way to think about it is like a diet. Whatever an AI produces is just a direct reflection of the data it's been consuming. And if you want to see what this data diet looks like in the real world, researcher Joshua Fairfield points us to China. Over there, the government can pretty much force companies to pool all their data together. This creates this incredibly rich, varied diet for its AI. It combines everything from your web browsing history and location data to info from smart city sensors. And the result? You get a really powerful AI that's built on a foundation of surveillance, designed not for democratic debate, but for social control.
Okay, so that's the threat. It's pretty serious. But what if that's only half the story? What if this exact same technology could be used not to break democracy, but to fix one of its oldest, most annoying problems? Let's talk about the algorithmic fix. So let's talk about gerrymandering. This is a practice that's basically as old as the United States itself. It's where politicians literally draw these bizarrely shaped electoral maps just to lock in their own power and make the votes of their opponents count for less. And this slide shows you exactly how they pull it off. They have two main tricks. The first is called cracking. That's where you take a big group of your opponent's voters and you spread them out real thin across a bunch of districts so their vote gets diluted. The other trick is packing, and that's where you cram as many of your opponents as you can into just a few districts. You'll lose those, sure, but you'll win pretty much everywhere else. Now, it's easy to think this is just about political corruption, but a really interesting study on computational redistricting suggests there's something else going on. It might be that humans, we're just not that good at this. The sheer complexity of drawing fair maps for a huge state might just be too much for our brains to handle. And this is where AI steps in. Check out Iowa, a state that already tries to be fair by using a neutral commission. The map on the left, that's what the humans came up with. The map on the right, that's what an algorithm created with just one simple goal: make the districts as compact as possible. The difference is just obvious, right? The algorithm's version is so much cleaner, so much more logical. Okay, but this is where it gets truly fascinating. Look at these middle maps of Arizona. The algorithm created a donut, a dense urban district for the city of Tucson, completely surrounded by a bigger, more rural district. This is a perfectly optimized solution that human map makers, who were kind of stuck in their own habits and biases, had never even considered. So the main point here is pretty clear. When you strip away all the political motives and you get past our own human limitations, and you just focus on objective goals, like making districts compact, an algorithm can create electoral maps that are just demonstrably fairer. So we've got AI as a threat to truth on one side and AI as a fix for fairness on the other. And that brings us to our final act, where these two ideas crash into each other in a really, really weird way. So, some researchers dug into millions of comments on Reddit's main politics forum, r/politics. They wanted to see what happened to the conversations after ChatGPT became a household name. And what they found, well, it was a total paradox. So get this. On one hand, ideological polarization, which is just the gap between what liberals and conservatives believe, it actually got wider. The two sides moved further apart. But at the exact same time, affective polarization, which is basically how hostile and nasty people are to each other, it went down. People were disagreeing more, but they were being nicer about it? How is that even possible? Well, the answer seems to be this thing called algorithmic sycophancy. It sounds complicated, but it's just the built-in tendency for AI models like ChatGPT to be, well, agreeable. To be seen as helpful, they often just echo and gently reinforce the opinion of the person they're talking to.
So here's the twist. When people start using AI to help write their online comments, the result is a conversation that feels way more polite and less toxic. But under the surface, because the AI is reinforcing what everyone already believes, it's subtly pushing the two sides further and further apart. It's basically just making our echo chambers a lot more pleasant to live in.
And that brings us to the real takeaway from all of this. The algorithm isn't naturally a threat or a fix. It's just a tool. It's a powerful one, for sure. We can program it to optimize for fairness, and we get these logical, clean electoral maps. Or we can program it to optimize for agreeableness, and we get politics that feels more polite, but is actually more polarized. The choice isn't really about what the AI will do to our democracy. It's about what we tell it to do. And that leaves us with the most important question of all. Who gets to write the rules?